Welcome everybody. It's your boy Vega Bomber. I'm back, and I'm not back by myself. Once again, I'm coming up with a long time follower, subscriber, and just good friend. I got Prim in the house with me. Prim, tell him what's up.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? How y'all doing today?
Yeah. So, as you know, everybody's quarantined. Everybody's stuck in the house, which means we're all trying to make our mind up on what kind of things should we watch right now. Well, we did get to watch a series. Prim, tell them, what series did we watch, or at least start?
Okay, I guess the series that we're gonna talk about today is hashtag Black AF. We're not gonna say the whole word because I'm quite sure you know what that stands for. This show is streaming on Netflix. Came out a couple of days ago. It's a Black satire comedy. I will put on in that category, and we're going to get further into it, and discuss a couple episodes that we've seen so far.
That's right. And this series is created by the gentleman who produced Blackish, and that's Kenya Barris. And so basically he actually stars, directs, and acts in this film. And then you've got people like Rashida Jones, who plays his wife, JoJo, he calls her in the series. And what we're doing is we're looking at his family through the eyes of, say, basically his daughter, through her project that she's doing for her university. And so she's just wanting to show the unfiltered cut of her family and how they engage. And so in that, you got a lot of comedy, you got a lot of pop culture references, you got cameos, you got the whole kit and caboodle, and you're being introduced to some characters. So that's kind of the synopsis. So I like to always start with the positive. So let's start with the good things that you like. So Prim, what hit you as good in this series so far?
I think what I enjoyed about this series is that we don't get a lot of Black satire TV shows. So I definitely enjoy that. I think it was well written, and in today's climate, they touched on a lot of topics that a lot of people will stay away from. So I definitely enjoy that so far.
Yeah, and I think some of the things I liked as well were definitely it's witty. You can tell that the writing is very precise, it's specific, and there's some dimes in there that the first couple of times when you see it, you might not catch it, but they're there. And I also like the history moments. So there's pieces in this where the daughter or maybe the dad himself starts talking about a history piece about, again, slavery or some aspect of a Black American life, in the first 400 years of African Americans, Black folks being here. And it's interesting because every title of every episode is, this is about slavery. This too is about slavery. Yeah, this is also about slavery. Believe it or not, this is about slavery. So that humor, because that's something you hear, right, Prim, is people go, why are you always bringing up slavery? So the fact that he uses that is pretty clever. So I thought that was great.
Yeah, I thought that certain terms that we say that he went into was derived from slavery. So he touched on that. So it wasn't a very harsh way he went about it, but it was definitely a unique way that he went back to tying things together to current events. I guess different types of terms that we use that we're not sure where it derived from. And most of them did come from slavery. So that was cool. That was a piece.
Yeah, and I think that, so if you're wondering, I like this film since it's quote unquote a Black satire, I think what will happen is you'll see that there is some educational components in it that you probably wouldn't ask your Black friends because you don't want to show that you don't know, but it's put in well.
Yeah.
So for people who are thinking, is this one of those shows? It's like, no, actually you can get some education out of some of the humor, even if you don't understand some of the slang. But even then they make fun of the slang and tell you where it comes from. Yeah.
And you know what? While I'm listening to you, I'm thinking about this show could be in between Entourage and Bar. Yep. It's in that group, just a little brass with the language, but besides that, it had that feel to it, the way it was shot. So yeah, it had a nice project to it.
Yeah, it's kind of like the main character, the dad, Ken. He's kind of like the Black Larry David. If you ever watch that show, Curb Your Enthusiasm, that's kind of like him. He's always questioning everything. He's always in his head. He's very cerebral about things, but also very visual. So that's something about his character for sure. I think watching it, you can see that there was a lot of thought put into it. The setups are great for the jokes, for the different dramedy type situations, because it is, to Prim's point, it is a comedy and it is dark, but it does say something about generations, because you see his generation versus how his kids are living and how they're growing up in their generation and what they think. So didn't you find that compelling as well, Prim?
Yeah, I like the interaction with his daughter, the middle daughter. You know, the typical when you're wealthy, the kids don't really appreciate what you're doing. They just find you as the lame dad because they got along with the mother. So that was a good, I guess, a relationship between him and his daughter that they did resolve, but it was cool, you know, to see that. I definitely enjoyed that.
Yeah. And I would say that if you're not looking at the writing, if you're not looking at the dialogue itself, or the theme or the history that they put into it, I think another thing you can see is different character moments, which we'll get into some of the others as well, the bad, but there are some character moments that do stand out in the film. And so I don't want to spoil it for you, but there are certain moments, some realizations that the dad gets, and there's a few that the mom gets, and it's kind of funny. They put him in some really funny situations. Like that concert was pretty funny, how they were acting at that.
Yeah, that was funny. Even when they went to, purchase the stuff, that was kind of funny too. So yeah, I think that scene right there was cool because what I got out of it is like, a generalized stereotyping of people. You know what I'm saying? That's not the case. Not all people are like that. But he was stereotyping just by looking at him. He was naming what he had on. Like, look at him. He has a Gucci belt. He has this and that. But, I can relate to that because, that's something that a lot of people do to this day. We got to get away from that. So it was funny, but it was something that was put out there.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's totally true. And so to give that balance in the review, there were some things though that didn't go off, I thought, as well. And so, for you, Prim, what were some things that you thought could have been a little better? They weren't like the worst thing in the world, but they could have been at least maybe a little better.
I think there's one character, the sister boyfriend wasn't needed. I think they could have got rid of him. He was like X. I seen really bring up to the table. I think, well, it's not really the show itself. I think what will make this a bad series or dislikable, people won't like it, is that it's a black satire where we're not used to. We're used to seeing, like I said before, Martin, the typical stuff, the same format. So when you see this format, it's not the norm. So it's going to shock the system to a lot of people. So that might be a negative. But I guess with myself liking everything, I think that would be a negative. Like a lot of people won't like it. It's acquired taste. Like we both agree, it's definitely dark human satire. So you might want to warn people before they watch it. If not, they're definitely not going to like the show.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would say that for me, some things that I felt probably were a little different is I think for me, I'm all about characterization. And again, I've just seen the first 2 episodes, so I'm sure it could have progressed and gotten better. But I do find it a very interesting choice to make the leading character not likable at all. Like, I didn't feel like he was very likable. I didn't feel like as a couple together they were very likable. So I thought that was very interesting. Now, of course, they can bring that around. But I thought that was an interesting way to start that way when, people are going to make their judgments on the show based off the first one. And they may not even fit into the rest of it and give it that time. So I generally don't, and again, it's personal preference for me. Again, this doesn't mean that it's not a good show. It just, for me, I like characters I can root for. And for me, I don't root for any of these characters. I just don't feel anything for them because I don't live that lifestyle. I don't care for how they choose to see things. I think it's very way off. But at the same time, I can also recognize the brilliance of why they're doing what they're doing. So for me, I probably don't like how it's set up, but what saves it is probably the historical moments when he's teaching. That's what I like the most. Because
I think the historical moments, the witty writing, again, the characters is, I guess, when it was putting this show together, like the guy himself, he's a writer. He put out a lot of shows and stuff.
Sure.
And knowing the format that we're used to, it's a gamble. You know what I'm saying? Because like I said, or like you said, are they not likable, or are they the other side of what a family look like? Like, are all families good? You know what I'm saying? Do all families get together and have a cookie cutter Cosby type thing? You know, like, is he trying to go on the other side and display that to show people? Because I was looking at that too, and I like, is he examining what the other side of having a family looks like, and even though it's really dysfunctional, they still together and they still end up with solutions to the problems. So I was looking at it at that point too. So, you know, I definitely enjoyed it. But again, like, you know, you said, it's something that I don't know if you're not used to it or what you're used to.
Yeah.
As characters.
Yeah. Well, for me, it's not about used to. I mean, you gotta understand, man, I've watched a million movies. I've seen every time. This ain't new to me. So when I look at this again, I go back to the hero's journey. That's how everything's built, right? And so I get it. You make the main guy not as likable because you can then turn around and redeem him. I get that. The difference is, for me, is, like I said, people bragging about being petty, even if that's a joke. To me, that just doesn't relate to me at all. I can't stand petty people, even if you're just pretending petty. So I'm just saying, it just didn't hit certain notes for me personally, because I don't. That's why I said I want to see a character that's actually likable in my terms. And so to me, the one that's probably the most likable on the show to me so far is the daughter that's doing the filming project, because she seems to be grounded in reality, because she's saying, come on, Mom, like the way she challenges her mom on her pettiness. That's brilliant. I like that. I can get behind that. But someone telling me, like the mom, she says, yeah, that's just me. That's how I am. I'm petty. Okay, that does nothing for me, because I can't stand petty people. So that's not going to make me like that character. So that's what I mean by the character isn't likable. I get that that's what she's got to do, because that's what the role requires, and it's going to pay off down the line. Just
now, this show, when I'm listening to what you're saying, I won't put it parallel, but it's in the same family or the same tribe as Shameless. I'm not sure if you watched Shameless.
Yeah, I tend to not watch most of those. I'll tune in, but like I said, if there's certain things that I see, because like every show isn't made for me, right? There's a ton of shows out there, right? They're not all made for me, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I definitely tell people, like, if you enjoy Shameless, then you will like this. If you don't like that type of satire, dark humor, then you definitely won't enjoy it. This is a little bit more polished and shinier than Shameless. Shameless is really heavier than the show.
Yeah.
But again, like we said, the witty writing and the light, sometimes they go light and go deep with certain current events and stuff like that. Is cool. So that's something that I enjoyed on the show. What I also enjoyed is, well, I can't afford how you dress, but I enjoyed how you dress. You know what I'm saying? I definitely enjoyed that. Plus, what he said about how he came to that point of him dressing like that. You know what I'm saying? Looking good all the time. Is there a limit for adults to start dressing a certain way, or is it not? Do we say, hey, look, we're 35, no more sneakers, we wear shoes and loafers and stuff like that? You know what I'm saying? Penny loafers. Like, what is your cutoff? Do you have a cutoff moment age where you stop dressing a certain way, or do you dress casually? Like, because I was looking at him that way. I'm like, this guy has to be in his 50s, but he's wearing stuff that younger people wear.
Right.
But he's wearing young people stuff that's very expensive at the same time. So he's 50, he's wearing young stuff, but the stuff that he's wearing, the young people can afford because it's at the top of the thing. So that stood out to me. So what's your thoughts on that?
I think so. That you asked a good question. So in one of the seasons, actually one of the episodes, the first episode, there's this dad who's in his 50s, but he's dressed like somebody in their 20s. So, but he's a professional, and he has a professional job. He does well, but his profession though is writing and directing and producing. So in
Mm-hmm.
that field, people would dress more casual. So the question that Prim was asking,
but he's wearing high end stuff. Like he's
of
not
course,
wearing his stuff is high end. I think that was kind of funny.
yeah, and high end is fine, but it's still the same look, whether it's high end.
Yeah.
Right? And so is the whole idea. So the question was, is there a cutoff line between when adults should stop dressing when they were a teenager to now dressing like an adult? And when you dress like your kids and you're wearing the same clothes as your kids and the same brand, what might that say? So I guess my answer to that would be, it's going to depend upon your environment and what you do, because people dress according to their environment. So for example, in my life, when I go to my clients and work with my clients, they're lawyers. So I'm not going to show up in no damn sweatsuit. And I'm not going to be.
I hope not.
All right. And I'm not going to be I'm not going to be throwing a bunch of slang around and talking all like that. Right. It's code switching. I understand that, hey, when I'm in a casual environment, you dress casual. When you're in a business environment, you dress business, unless your business is a business that's casual. Right. So like,
is that what, because he wore a lot of sweats and sweatsuits. So he was like really casual. You know what I'm saying? He's a really casual type dresser.
Yeah.
The expensive stuff, he was high end stuff. It was real casual. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's why, for him being somebody who's creative, when you're in a creative industry like that, creatives are going to dress differently than CEOs and professionals who are in the white collar jobs. So I get why he does that. But at the same time, which is what the episode was bringing up, if you dress like that, you are going to be subject to what other people think about that when they see a grown man dressing like a teenager. And that's just something you got to deal with. If a girl wears a short skirt and the nylon stockings to church, she's going to have to deal with the fact that people are going to talk about what she's wearing to church. Not that she shouldn't be there at church, but you have to ask the question, is that really appropriate for
Yeah. Yeah.
So
when you're off work, how do you dress? I usually dress like sweatshirt, jeans, sneakers. That's my thing.
Yeah. When I'm going to the gym, I'm going to have my athletic gear on, no doubt. I'm going to look just like him because I'm going to have my athletic gear on when I go to the gym. But again, when I go to work, I'm serious. I'm a boss, so I'm not going to show up looking like some. I don't want to look.
No.
I'm not gonna want to look like any stereotype when I get in front of people.
We gotta keep the game tight. Keep the game tight, right?
Yeah, and I actually want to show them. Oh, by the way, while you're watching that show, you think all of us dress like that? I don't.
No, right? Can't afford half. I couldn't afford none of that stuff he had on. None of it.
No, and I don't want to because I think that's a waste. That's a waste.
No, it is a waste. I mean, he can afford it. He has money to extra money to dispose like that. I don't have that. Not even the t-shirts he was wearing. His t-shirts was like $100 t-shirts. But definitely enjoyed it. But like I said, it was funny because it's like he's old, he's dressing young, but he's wearing high end stuff. So it was kind of like on purpose. You know what I'm saying? It was nothing the same.
It does. Well, it's basically based off of Russell Simmons. On the Def Jam, that's how he used to do. After he turned that record label into iconic status, that's what he used to do. He used to wear Adidas sweatshirts.
Even the mobster used to wear a lot of sweatsuits. They wear a lot of expensive, Surgery Technici sweatsuits, velour sweatsuits.
Also wore suits though too. The mob also
they wore suits, but between the sweatsuits, they wore that. So I noticed that certain thing. Like, it's a lifestyle, and if it fits your lifestyle, then you can afford it. But if not, then that's something that I can't.
I think one of the themes that he's struggling with is also he's trying to figure out what does life mean, because this whole time he's trying to understand it from a Black perspective, because that's why he's saying he hates white people a lot in the very first episode, right?
Yeah.
So he's trying to understand what does it mean to be a Black man, or just a good man in the first place, and what does he look like? And like, he thought about the chain, wearing too much swag, maybe you should bring it down, that sort of thing. So he's a guy that's obviously struggling, but really you could say there's a bigger narrative than this. And the bigger narrative to this, I think, is materialism. Because just because you have a lot of money doesn't mean you go spend it like crazy. Right? That
Yeah,
doesn't,
he
you know.
he addresses it. So I definitely want you to finish it off when you get a chance. He addresses everything you just brought up.
We're gonna be out for now, and so all I'm gonna say to everybody is peace. And Prim, what do you want to tell the audience? What do you want to tell the Vagabondians?
Hey, I just want you guys to keep supporting. Leave comments. If you feel anything that should be added to the show, let him know. He will take into consideration. And when you get a chance, hey, go by my show. Check it out. You might like it.
That's right. That's right. Y'all should check out Prim. Y'all should take a look at that. And what I'll do is I'll go ahead and put a link there in the bio part of this video. So until then, guys, we're out, and we'll see you next time. You. Peace.
Peace. All right, big mama.
All right, good stuff, bro.